Greetings. Welcome to Speak Nerd and Enter.
Okay, and welcome to the Speak Nerd and Enter podcast. I'm doing the intro today because we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is me. So we're talking about my favorite movies. If you were listening to a previous episode, they asked me to come up with like a list of my top 20 favorite movies, which I did. It was not easy. And I provided that to the group, and they are here to eviscerate my choice in entertainment, apparently. So
we are here to listen to Kelly eviscerate it, and then if he fails in that, then we'll eviscerate.
Then you'll assist him. Okay. All right. How would you like to do this? You want me to go down the list and ask your opinion? You just want to pick one? And
okay, no, let's just go in order.
Okay, they're not exactly in order, but if I had to pick one that is probably my favorite movie, it is the first one on the list, and that would be The Matrix.
Okay, see, now here's where you're wrong, is that's the first one you pick off this list. There's some much better movies on this list. I'm really surprised that this is your favorite. I mean, look, The Matrix was okay as a movie. It was fine. It's
The Matrix
one of those
was amazing. And
it was one. It's one of those guilty pleasures you go see at a matinee showing, so you don't feel bad for having spent the money. But the reality is, for me, is that I've never gotten into a Keanu Reeves movie. The reason being is that every time I see him in a movie, it's just Keanu Reeves.
And Kelly, I just can't take you seriously anymore. You don't like John Wick,
Bill and Ted, fine, but it's still Keanu Reeves. I never liked Bill and Ted.
Speed? Come on. Point Break? What is the matter with you? It is almost the 4th of July, and you are acting so un-American.
Okay. Guilty. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I give The Matrix 2 stars out of 5. 2 K-Mans out of 5.
Okay. Well, you're wrong. The Matrix is the perfect movie. It is amazing. It has everything that I like in entertainment. It's got science fiction. It's got gunplay, little, kung fu, a woman in a red dress. I mean, what is not to like about The Matrix? I remember watching The Matrix the first time in the movie theater and thinking to myself halfway through, wow, this is going to be so much better the second time, because I knew that I was missing a bunch. Now, I will go on record and say that the follow-on Matrix movies should not exist, and they're dead to me.
100%.
So I am talking about the first Matrix before the Wachowskis got, they made $1 bazillion. It kind of snuck in under the radar. I think it was released at almost the perfect time, because nowadays with the way the internet is and everything, like, we know everything there is to know about a movie with leaks and with people talking about it. Like, whereas when this came out, I think it was 1999 or whatever, the internet was new, not everybody was on it. And it kind of like, all I knew was, the Morpheus voice where he's like, oh, nobody can tell you what the Matrix is. You have to see it. And then we had Carrie-Anne Moss swinging into the window from the helicopter, and the kind of the window smashing and an exploding helicopter. And I was like, oh, it's like an action movie.
Mouse?
No, I said Carrie-Anne Moss, which is the actress's name.
He said Mouse.
No, I did. I'm going to edit it out anyway.
Okay. Right.
So, like, going into the movie, I didn't know what to expect.
He totally said it.
Thank you.
I said her name. Exactly. We'll go back to the tape.
It'll
be all terribly dubbed. I'll be talking, and all of a sudden it'll say Carrie-Anne Moss.
Carry on.
Just like that. I can make that happen. I'm the editor.
Have your wife dub in the name.
Looking like Henry Cavill's mustache.
Yeah.
I know Mark had a big thing for her. I remember that.
One thick lip.
Everybody had a big thing for her.
No,
I didn't.
Not everybody.
No.
Not everybody. I got nothing against her, but I did not find her.
I found her to be a bit, severe.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I have very fond memories of that movie, and I think part of it is when it came out, it wasn't a sequel, it wasn't some franchise we were used to. It was a new thing that kind of blew up, and it was a smart movie. It wasn't dumb to where you know exactly what's going to happen 10 minutes in, like some other movies. Like, you were like, what is going on here? So anyway, that is still, I stand by my my decision to put that at the top of the list. And it's also a cautionary tale to what can happen if Hollywood gives you too much rope.
It's a prophetic
you guys
movie
can hang
about the modern
yourselves with
age.
it. Yeah.
No. It's still Keanu Reeves in a movie, and Keanu Reeves is the same in every movie, and that's just that. So.
Okay, so what I hear is you don't like Keanu Reeves, and it's colored your perception of every other movie
As an
that he's
actor,
in. Got it.
as an actor, I don't find him that dynamic. As a person, I think Keanu Reeves is
Kelly,
fine.
I believe it or not, I 100% agree with that statement. I'm with you. I see Keanu Reeves in Keanu Reeves movies. I see what you're saying. Like, I don't necessarily disagree with that. Like, when you look at some other actors that are in, Gary Oldman, that dude has range. He doesn't
Right.
look the same in any of his movies. You're like, that's the same guy,
Right.
right? Whereas Keanu Reeves, you're right. It's Keanu Reeves in a suit with some guns. It's Keanu Reeves in a trench coat doing kung fu. It's Keanu Reeves on a bus. Like,
Right.
I get it. I hear what you're
But
saying.
you know,
So,
I'm okay with that with certain actors. There's actors that I like the range. De Niro surprisingly has a great range. I know everybody thinks of him with gangster stuff, but if you've seen him in like Awakenings, you know,
Sure.
really, really well done.
Cape Fear.
right.
Yeah.
But Sean,
Cape
those
Fear.
aren't on my list, so we're not allowed to talk about them during this episode.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do you want
But you
our
see that
secondary
wide range.
commentary about
You
the
see that
Matrix?
wide
Or
range
no?
as opposed to, well, no, even what's his face? From Scarface and Godfather.
Al Pacino.
Thank you. He had great range. It seems like he's become more of a
One
Al
trick pony.
Pacino. Al
joke
Pacino
Yes,
early
he yells
on in
at
his
monologue, and
Yeah.
they treat that like
100%.
acting.
Yeah,
I'm
Yeah.
with you.
used to be a really, really good actor. And that's not to take away from him. Maybe he still is. Maybe it's just the role he's taken or whatever. But like The Godfather was amazing. He was amazing in that. But then you have actors that you don't mind seeing the same person, just in a different setting. You know, Sam Jackson is an example of that.
Okay.
Every movie he's in,
Johnny
it's
Depp.
Sam Jackson. And I'm
Johnny
fine
Depp.
with
Yeah,
that.
good call.
Johnny Depp,
I was going to go with Mel Gibson.
yeah.
Mel Gibson is basically
Mel
the same
Gibson.
character
No,
in
he's
every movie.
still on
he's
ice
in.
right now.
He's
We
got
haven't thawed
range.
him
I
out
get
yet.
that, but I mean, all the Lethal Weapon
Thawed him
movies
out.
and a lot of the other ones, it was just like, let me see this damaged guy, finally go nuts and start killing everybody.
But I agree with Mark
Riggs
that there
and
are certain...
Max Rockatansky are completely different characters. There's no
that's still
Right,
that's
but
still
Riggs
no.
and what's the dude from The Patriot are the same character.
Yeah,
They're just set at
Max-
different times.
Max is
Yeah,
the
I
same
guess.
as them
I mean-
too. Max is the same. Max is the same as all those other characters. He lost his family. He's borderline, nutso and all this stuff and everything. Whatever the directors put. He's that same character. But that's kind of what you're accepting that when you go and see that. You're like, all right, yeah, that's cool. Christopher Walken.
Okay.
Christopher Walken is
Right.
probably top of the list for the characters that I know he's going to be the same guy in every movie, and that's what I look forward to. I want to see Christopher Walken in every role in every movie, so that I can, before I die, so I can know that I have completed God's good work in seeing.
So speaking of which, he's in Dune Part 2.
I know.
It'd be fantastic.
Well, then it becomes a must-see.
Yep.
It instantly raises
Rich,
it
you
one
sounded
level.
like you wanted to weigh in on the Matrix. I cannot wait.
But that's what I think about Keanu Reeves, though, too, is that when I see Keanu Reeves, I expect to see Keanu Reeves. And I've gotten to the point now where I don't look at him to think, okay, what acting range am I going to see from this? And that's not to take away from it. I think actually in John Wick, him sitting there crying, when he gets the dog and all that was actually very well done. I thought that was actually...
we do have some breaking news. I have on this other monitor over here, the Warhammer 40K, the Warhammer not 40K preview. And it looks like they are going to do an epic scale version that I'm just watching the video on that, which we all suspected. The quick figures, man, they look so good. Epic 40K was always one of my favorite kind of games anyway. And so
Is it going to have Keanu Reeves in it?
I can see him right there. He's leading a Titan Legion.
To quote Keanu, yeah.
Yes. It looks like
lots of guns.
It looks like the rumors about they're doing plastic. It looks like they're doing plastic weapons for the Warhounds, including some of the ones they have in Forge World. Well, that's a lot of money thrown down the drain for me.
You bought all the resin ones.
Yeah, I have all the resin ones, but it looks like they're going to do plastic Ursus claws.
Yeah, it looks good, but not to get too far off topic. Rich, you had an opinion on the Matrix before we move on to some other. This would be a 10-hour thing if we spend an hour on each movie. So.
Well, it's going to be long anyway. You got 20 movies on your list.
Yeah.
The Matrix, best movie ever, not even close, not even near close.
Stop. Let me stop you right there. Do not put words in my mouth. I never said The Matrix was the best movie ever. My favorite is not the same thing as best movie ever. I understand my biases are coming into it. There are things I love about The Matrix. Like I love when the reluctant hero becomes the non-reluctant hero, and he's like, you know what, we're gonna go save Morpheus, and they're not gonna expect this. That is part and parcel from our role-playing game experience, where we're like, you know, they're not gonna expect us to drive around the block and come back and kill everybody. That kind of thing, right? That is one of the things that I really identified with in that movie. That I was like, oh heck yeah. Like, that doesn't make it the best movie ever, but that is the thing that I really enjoy about it, which is why it's my top movie, and I'll stand by that. But don't come into this being like, Mark thinks The Matrix is the best movie ever made. No, that's a hard. I'm not going to die on that hill either.
Okay. Now, I will say, I'm going to back you up on this, Mark. Having that on the list, you can argue quite effectively that The Matrix affected cinema in a major way.
Oh, that's from a technical standpoint, it pushed the boundary. All three of them did, but let's forget about those other two.
Not even the technical side, but even the storytelling side. How many movies after that have been about the world isn't actually what you think it is?
Yeah, Inception, you know, that kind of, other films.
Yeah, like it's a very impactful movie, and it impacted how movies are made. You know, how franchises are built. It impacted a lot of things from the just not the movie side, but the business side of movies and the effects side and the technical filmmaking. And it has been mimicked so much that, you know, like it's right up there with like Ben-Hur and some of these other movies that have, you know, set this, you know, taken filmmaking to that next step or opened up a new area that a bunch of new directors want to come in and explore. So, Rich, go ahead with your bullshit Matrix review that nobody cares about.
Why bomb? Go to the next one.
Is the next one Ben-Hur?
No. Believe it or not, it's Reservoir Dogs.
All right, Reservoir Dogs.
Let me set the stage for this one. Back in the day, there was a business called Blockbuster Video. Right, and you'd go there and rent videotapes that you would take home and feed into your machine that would show that on your television for our younger viewers. And I was going through a string of movies that I hadn't figured out that released direct to Blockbuster meant it was a terrible movie, and it never made it to the theaters. So I must have rented 10 or 15 in a row of movies that you look at the cover and you read the back, you're like, this sounds good, and they were terrible. I was renting the worst movies ever. I was on a really terrible streak of movies. Then I rented Reservoir Dogs, and it blew me away. So I was like, oh man, this is like one of the best movies that I have ever seen. So coming off this like really dry spell of terrible phoned it in movies to get Quentin Tarantino's first directorial debut, man, it blew me away. So go ahead, Kelly. What are your thoughts on Reservoir Dogs? First, have you seen it?
Oh yeah, I think I watched it with you. Reservoir Dogs is one of those movies that just it pushed storytelling in a given way, and I mean, early Quentin Tarantino was quite effective that way. He's sort of become Johnny One Note with a lot of his other movies. It's just, you know, you see a Quentin Tarantino movie and just you know what's going to happen. But Reservoir Dogs was different, and it's still, I think, even today is a storyline that pushes things in a particular way. I think Reservoir Dogs, if you're a fan of cinema, is one of those movies, if you haven't seen it, you have to see it at least once in your life. It will sit with you beyond that one viewing. And there's scenes in there that are just, you're not going to forget them. I think Reservoir Dogs easily 4.5 out of 5 K-Mans.
Okay, excellent. I'm in agreement. I think it's an amazing movie. The dialogue is tight. as a story, there's nothing particularly special about it. Undercover cop goes in with this gang to try and capture them, and the heist goes wrong. But the non-linear aspect of how that story was told
Right.
was really new. The dialogue was not like it wasn't, "Hey Frank, how are you today?" "I'm good, Billy." Like, it was none of that. You know what I mean? This was gangsters cussing at each other, and they were rarely
And
talking
worse.
about exactly what they were supposed to be talking about to move the plot forward, kind of thing. And so,
Yeah.
and like I say, low budget directorial debut, Harvey Keitel. I mean, how can you go wrong? So
Because
yeah,
for me, the issue is, can I lose myself in whatever story I'm trying to take in, right? And that's where, as I said with Keanu, that's where it falls apart, because it's always, I just see Keanu. You guys made effective arguments to that, and that's fine. With Reservoir Dogs, you are just lost in that movie. I didn't see individual actors. I was just lost in, hey, here's Mr. Pink, or what have you, and you're watching the movie play out, and it was just excellent that way.
yeah, and that probably started my love affair with Steve Buscemi. So, all right, next on the list, Aliens, number 2 in the Alien franchise.
Okay, now look, when I saw this, I immediately knew Sean doesn't like this movie.
Yeah.
I particularly do like this movie. I think it's fine as an installment to the Aliens franchise. I gave it 3.5 out of 5. Um, it's there is ridiculousness, there is camp. I think the inclusion of the little kid is problematic for me. I think whenever you throw kids in movies, it's like when you throw a dog in a movie. You just know what you're gonna get. And it definitely did play out its little messaging that it wanted to put out and things like that. But from an action standpoint of getting to see more aliens just tear people apart, that was phenomenal.
They turned into stormtroopers. That's what they did. And when Ripley went running down there, they became alien stormtroopers and started falling by the wayside in the dozens to a woman who had learned how to use the gun about 15 minutes earlier.
You're underestimating the maternal instinct. Turn a woman into a killer.
No, there are aspects. I mean,
ovaries she had. Yes,
I give you a lot of that, Sean. The end of the movie, from about the time where she goes to rescue people before the planet explodes, through to the final fight on the ship, and everybody going into cryosleep. If we could cut out and refilm that, it would make the movie better. But again, I think the hordes of aliens, I think the idea that an entire settlement was eradicated by the aliens, and just seeing that play out was fine. There are subcomponents of the story that I think really detract from the movie, and that's why I only give it 3 out of 5. But otherwise, I was entertained.
You both disappoint me.
No,
I'm
I
so
love
sad.
it. Still, it's definitely in my top 10, which is why it's number 3 on the list.
Yeah, I give you that one.
Okay,
That
You
Rich,
said
you got
that
any
there was
parting
particular
comments
order.
on Aliens there, or for that matter, Reservoir Dogs?
Reservoir Dogs, I agree with you. I think it's an excellent film, and it has an ensemble cast with some great performances that really, on top of Tarantino's directing, just the performances in it are superlative. And Aliens, I saw that film probably 40 times in the theater for $1. I kept going back one summer when it came out, so I really enjoy it as well. I diverge with Sean. I see his points about how it's a bit of it's a juvenile, like compared to the original Alien, which was a true horror movie and kind of broke boundaries from what it did in terms of its theme and setting and all the Giga-esque things that were in it. Aliens really did kind of become more of a summer blockbuster popcorn Michael Bay-ish type flick.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I find it to be extremely enjoyable as well.
Indeed. Yep. Agreed. All right, moving on to our next one. This is one of my personal favorites, Dread, with Carl Urban.
Me too. Yeah, I love this movie. I just watched it again.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is this the one that you guys had me watch? You guys recommended that I watch because I wasn't sure, because there's another one out there, another couple. Yeah.
Yeah, this is not the Sylvester Stallone,
not the Stallone
Judge
one.
Dredd. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, this one I have to agree. I was entertained by this movie. Are there problems with it? Of course, there's a host of them. But I had to, and I don't think a lot of people think that I do this, but I did have to check. Okay, reality's gonna have to sit over here a bit, and we're just gonna have to deal with it, because I mean his gun is ridiculous. There's lots of things in the movie that are just stupid, but I was entertained by the movie, start to finish. And when it was over, I was kind of like, I'd like to see another one. You know, this is
Mhm.
it's a halfway decent storyline. Kind of
So it's
it,
funny that you mentioned the gun, because that was actually a functional prop that they built off of a Glock frame. It actually worked. It
Well,
loaded
it
multiple
shoots, but it didn't
magazines.
shoot all the ammo that they were
It
shooting.
didn't shoot
through.
the ammo, but
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, it fed multiple magazines into a Glock frame, which it's in the bonus features, because I watched those, and I was surprised at that. I figured, oh, it's just a
Now,
special effect prop.
I'm
No,
gonna
they made it a
defend
working
Kelly
thing.
a little bit. I think he's talking about the fact that you couldn't switch between explosive rounds and
Yeah.
armor piercing.
I see what you're saying.
yeah.
Yeah, well,
There's that, and then I don't know. There's aspects of the storyline that I would quibble about if I got really anal about it. But all in all, Dread is one of those movies that you go see. You know you're going to go see something that's
Yeah.
relatively mindless, but you're entertained by the story. And frankly, I can see, if you're a fan of the comic book series, being able to see that brought to life, I think they did it a fair amount of justice.
And I do like Dread. I like the movie.
Yeah. Except the
I
Stallone
thought it
one.
was unfortunate that it came out around the same time as the Raid, because the Raid and
Yeah,
that
it's
one are
basically the same movie as Raid Redemption, only this
Yeah.
one is science fiction and that one is martial arts.
right.
Yeah.
And so, but if
The
you
Raid
can
was good,
see
too.
the two,
Yeah.
if you can see the two separately, so that one doesn't flavor the other for you, I think
Mhm.
Dredd is actually very faithful to the character in the comics, and I love the fact that his character doesn't really have an arc. He stays, his foundation is set.
Right. Anderson has the arc.
Yeah, everybody else is going to change. I ain't changing. This is it,
Right,
you
right.
know?
Yeah, and I did. I like that aspect as well. I hadn't thought of it in those terms, but you're right. Dread is this immovable object. Anderson is the kind of young idealistic. I want to do some good in the world, but then by the end, she's like, "Well, I failed. Let's go kill these guys."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And
And
I love that fact that the movie was really dark. It did not
it was
shy
violent.
away
It was
from-
rated R. They weren't trying
Yeah.
to water it down and make it a
Not at all.
PG-13. The cinematography was amazing. Like the cinematography was so well done. It had almost no business being in this movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was, the slow-mo scenes were so well filmed, and that final scene with Momo smack it into the ground and that was just like, wow, who comes up with that? That was so well done. So the cinematography made the movie. Had it not been filmed as competently as it was, I don't think it would be as good a movie.
The thing I think that hurt the movie the most was the fact that it was a movie. I think if they'd done it as like an HBO series or something like that, I think it would have been much more successful, because you'd have had an audience that was willing to try it out rather than going to the movies for it. So I think that was the biggest hindrance.
I don't know,
Yeah,
man.
and-
People are going to go to
and
the
I'll
movies
go-
to see The Matrix. They'll go see
Yeah,
Dread.
and I'll go with Carl Urban. Like,
Mhm.
he, as a Hollywood actor, didn't feel the need to take his helmet off to show
Yeah.
everybody that he's a Hollywood actor.
That was-
Sylvester Stallone. You
That
know,
was
like, that was well done.
that was from the source material. That actually in the comics, when he did take his helmet off in the comics, they put a big censored thing over his face. So you're never supposed to see Dread's face. So
Yeah.
I mean that kept true to the source material.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Sorry
sounds like
about that. Like
it sounds
Master-
like all of us enjoyed
Like
enjoyed
Master
Dread.
Chief. Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, Dread was a good recommendation. Again, goofy
So what was
movie
next on your
in its
list here,
premise,
Mark?
but it's nice.
All right, coming in next, Bowfinger.
I never saw it.
See, I
You never
thought
saw
that was
Bowfinger.
an
So
unusual-
Bowfinger is
Subtle
I
humor.
can't
from
hear you,
Eddie
Sean.
Murphy.
I'm sorry. What's
yeah,
that?
it's Eddie Murphy. Sean, I'm not hearing you.
Oh, sorry.
He's
Yeah,
out of
it's
sync.
Eddie Murphy and Steve Martin.
hmm
So basically, they're going to make this movie, and Steve Martin is this kind of way on the outside, low rent movie producer. He's trying to, he's running this movie production company out of his house, and Eddie Murphy's character is like this big action star, kind of like Will Smith or something like that at the height of his thing. And they're like, we're going to make a movie with this guy in it. But he doesn't know he's in it. So they're following him around town, putting him in these positions and filming it from the bushes kind of thing. And as they say, hilarity ensues. And then they get a guy that looks like him. Turns out it's actually his brother or whatever. They didn't know it at the time when they hired this guy.
Oh,
So, Eddie Murphy's playing two different parts in the movie. And it's just funny. It's a whole funny send up of kind of these guys coming together to get a movie made, and it's got a lot of inside baseball on getting some movies done and how Hollywood works. And I just found it to be a very enjoyable comedy romp that's kind of a send up of Hollywood and how movies get made, and it's just really, really well done, and I enjoy it every time that I see it. So
I wrote it down. I'm going to watch it, but I haven't seen it, so I couldn't.
Okay.
It's a much more. It's not the in-your-face comedy that you're used to from Eddie Murphy. It's a much more subtle, kind of laid-back sort of film. But you skipped one on your list, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, which makes my top 5. Right before Bowfinger, you skipped.
You're right. We skipped The Thing. So Bowfinger, go see it if you haven't seen it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But you're right. I skipped John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm with Rich on this one. The Thing for me, still to this day, it's got to be if not in the top 5, at least in the top 10, right?
Yep.
For me, of movies of all time. And I think it holds up so well over time. I mean, sure, some of the effects could be done maybe a little bit better today with the technology we have, but for what it was, what it represents, that movie still holds up. It is solid through and through. The end with McCready and Childs is probably one of the best moments in movies that I've ever seen. It's fantastic.
The most argued portion of a movie ever.
And I've seen a number of people who don't like the ending because it's ambiguous, and I feel sorry for them, because that's the point. That was the beauty of it. And I was talking to somebody at work the other day, and we were talking about guy movies, right? And I said, the best guy movie ever made is The Thing. I guess you could put possibly, it could be an argument between that and Big Trouble, but The Thing is just, man, such a good guy movie. That
entirely
is so
masculine cast. No females.
Not even just that. It's the interactions they have.
But Sean, I think the juxtaposition in what you just talked about between Big Trouble in Little China and The Thing, which both have the same starring actor.
Yes.
Big Trouble in Little China was a comedy in its own right, and then The Thing is just, I mean, that shows the flex of the acting ability between the same star. Like we were talking about with Keanu, he's one note. But yeah, The Thing easily, 6 out of 5 K-Mans.
Yeah, so I first saw The Thing on Christmas morning, the year my family got their first VCR. There were no video stores, so my dad had gotten some bootleg movies from somewhere.
It was carved out of stone, right?
Yeah, it was carved out of stone, right? It was a top load VCR. But anyway, it was 7 kids in my family. Christmas morning started at like 4 a.m. Like the kids got up so early, we opened all the presents, and there was a VCR, and we ended up watching The Thing, which was the first movie we watched on our VCR on Christmas morning, and it was over at like 7 a.m. Right? So
I'm
to
sorry,
this
I have
day,
to share this. As he's talking about that Christmas, I'm thinking they're opening their presents, and he gets like the wheel.
The wheel fire! This is great.
His sister gets a couple of sticks that he can.
Look, it's a sharp knife made of stone.
The latest technology, kids.
That's right.
But
to this day, every Christmas I watch The Thing as my Christmas tradition. So.
And Kelly, I remember Kelly couldn't let our dog egg roll up on the couch with him for 2 weeks after or something.
Yeah.
Because he was afraid that egg roll was going to
turn into a
thing. No, man, that dog had to sleep on the floor.
Yeah. Won't trust that dog anymore. Oh, okay. So 4 thumbs up on The Thing, I think, from each of us. So now we're going to move on to probably my favorite Marvel movie of all time is Captain America: Winter Soldier. I think of all the Marvel movies, that's still probably my favorite.
Yeah, I agree on that one. I like.
Yeah, but I don't know, Callie, what do you think?
Look, I liked the whole Marvel series. I'm not going to fault it, right? It was a really entertaining series. I think the Winter Soldier as a character is probably one of the more ridiculous. Okay, I mean, he's got a super arm, right? I mean, the thing's going to get ripped out of its joint the first
No,
time he
they
grabbed
also
on.
gave him super serum to go with the arm.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
also a
good.
super
He can
soldier.
super
He's
reattach the
like
arm after
Captain
it fucking
America
comes
light.
off. It's just, I don't know. It's ridiculous. But look, I think he's a Steve Austin wannabe, but that's beside the point. I think, it's
Not the
I
fine
would
as a
wrestler.
kill.
movie.
I
Not
would
the wrestler,
kill to
kids.
see that.
Yeah.
I would
Well,
kill
well,
to
like I
see
said,
Steve
it's not.
Austin
This is not my
edited in.
favorite Marvel movie because of the Winter Soldier. It's my favorite movie because of the whole movie. I'm with you. Like, he's a low rent Captain America with a fake arm, and but then the fact that it's Bucky was kind of a cool reveal. Blah blah blah. But I like that it had stakes. You know what I mean? Like, Shield blew up from the inside because
Yeah.
of this movie. It changed the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. It wasn't like, oh no, a thing happened and giant CGI alien showed up and we defeated them, and now the next movie everything is the way it was before that other movie even started.
Mhm.
Right? Like, nope, Shield went away because they uncovered this thing and this conspiracy and whatnot. And like I said, the fight scenes were just really, really well done. I mean, that elevator one, come on, that was a good time. And when Nick Fury gets attacked by the cops, you know what I mean? And like, it was really more of a, what is it, Born Identity type
Oh, sure, yeah.
spy
It
It's
is.
movie
action
than it
start to
was a
finish.
superhero movie, and
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
But-
action start to finish. I think it was a great addition to the overall series. The only thing out of the Marvel series that I really start to fault is most of the Thor movies. But beyond that, I think the whole franchise did well.
But would you put it on a list of top 20 though? I
No.
agree, it's a great movie. I love the movie. Don't get me wrong.
The counterpoint to what you're saying there, Sean, is how would you not have at least one of the Marvel movies on your top 20, given their impact on cinema in our lifetime?
You can argue that. You can argue that. I'm just wondering. Top
I thought
20,
I was. That's.
Now I'm giving you.
You thought you were, but you were
Okay.
wrong.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for your permission. But it's on there because it's my list. Gosh darn it! All right. So moving on to something a little less popcorn. How about Unforgiven?
Fantastic.
Unforgiven. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a good-
Unforgiven for me, it ranks in. There's several movies on your list that reach this particular plateau where you can't fault the movie. You totally understand why it's on the list. It would be on most people's list. It is considered one of the 100 best movies of all time.
Yeah.
So yeah, Unforgiven is it's fantastic start to finish. I think somebody goes into, well, this is kind of slow. Dude, if you want to talk about a movie that's just slow boiling itself into its ultimate conclusion, and you can even see the tie-in with his other spaghetti westerns and things. I
Right.
mean, it's just such a great movie, so well done, a lot of versatile acting. I mean, I can't
think of anything I don't
no
like
fault.
about the movie. To be, like, all the actors are good. All of the supporting characters are good. I mean, Little Bill is amazing, and English Bob is really good. I mean, like, everything in that movie was just hitting on all cylinders.
You know who I was thinking of when I watched that movie, Mark, was you, because you like to say that you hate the trope of the reluctant hero, right? If you're going to do one about the reluctant hero, this is how you do it.
Right. Yeah. Because he was like, I'm not like that anymore. Oh no, that people are like, hey, you remember that time you did that horrible thing? Wow, what? He's like, oh, I'm not like that anymore. And then by the end, he's like, I'll kill everyone and your dog too.
See, this is for those who would think of like The Last Jedi and all that. This is how you do the reluctant hero, with an arc going back to who they were and giving a satisfying finale to that story. That's how you do it. So yeah, I agree. That one's amazing.
Yeah,
it's
Rich,
unrateable. What are your thoughts on Unforgiven? Do they mirror ours, or do you have some alternate view?
No. I'm in full agreement. I find it to be films, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Tombstone, that are genre setters. Basically, it's a film that all the other films are judged against. And Unforgiven is one of those. So like you said with Reservoir Dogs, like that's kind of a crime drama that other films are judged against. So it's like, well, that's not as good as Reservoir Dogs, or like Pulp Fiction. That's sort of in Tarantino's and what's the other one? Heat, another one like that crime drama. But in this case, as far as westerns go, I'd say this is one of the top 10 westerns of all time. You know,
Okay,
it's
yeah,
set-
and
it's
it is
set
occurring to
genre.
me as I look at my list now that Tombstone is not on my list, and that is wrong.
It's,
So
you know,
No, I
yeah.
don't know. I
You
don't
made
know.
the
you've got
list.
one on your list. You've got one on your list that I would never put on any list. So
Well, we can talk about that after.
Yeah,
we can
yeah,
talk
yeah.
about that.
Oh,
after.
I'm looking at the old list. I know I changed it when I emailed it to you guys. I think, but
Oh.
whatever.
Okay.
Did you change it after I sent you my first pass of my list? So
Did you have a pass? I don't recall seeing that.
yeah, you
Oh,
don't remember? I sent my first pass.
Oh,
It was-
yeah.
yeah. So
Only one.
That's
But
right.
yeah, so
Okay.
Unforgiven, yeah, it's definitely it's one of the great movies of all time, but it's also, as far as westerns go, it's in the top 10 westerns that have ever been produced. It's just a fantastic film.
It's transcendent.
Agreed.
Yeah.
so what's your
Agreed.
next?
All right, moving on to Die Hard.
one?
All right, likewise, look, this movie is packed with ridiculousness on many levels. But this is one that I remember seeing it in the theater.
Mhm.
It changed an opinion of movies for me in many ways. I'm not going to sit here and fault the fact that there's a bunch of, large Germans running around in tiny shoes that he can't figure out how to put on his feet, so he gets glass in his feet.
Tyson the Finsta.
Yeah, I'm not, or the fact that he's using the strap from an MP5 to save his ass in what is one of the, this large shaft.
Not
It-
only the strap, he's relying on that buttstock, that folding, that collapsible buttstock. On that
Folding
MP5.
aluminum
Definitely,
buttstock.
definitely not meant to hold a man falling off a
Yeah.
building.
Like in all seriousness, he wouldn't have survived to the end of the movie. But that being said, and out of respect, really, for Bruce Willis, I'm not going to fault this movie. I like it. I watch it every Christmas. It was one of Debbie's favorite movies. It was something that it was a priority for her to watch this at Christmas, much like it is for you to watch The Thing. So, no, Die Hard, 4.5 out of 5 K-Mans.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, what's who's the bad guy? I'm drawing on.
Oh yeah,
Alan Rickman.
yeah.
That was like the
yeah,
first movie I ever really remember seeing him in.
Well,
I don't know if it
that
was
was
his
his
first.
first
Was
movie.
it his first?
Yeah.
But yeah, talk about coming on the scene. And he didn't start acting
Ew.
as a young man. You know what I mean? He was kind of older when he started acting. Took me a second. Okay,
No, but
moving on.
even talking about acting versatility, when you talk about Alan Rickman, I mean, there's a
Yeah.
guy who could play multiple roles.
Right. Okay, and I had to put Star Wars: A New Hope on here.
Well, hold on with Die Hard. So I'm going to diverge from you guys.
No, I moved on. It's too late.
Sorry, too late.
You don't like it, Rich? Tell me why you don't like it.
I honestly, I was never a big fan of it, mostly for the reasons that you guys named. I just found it to be too while
enjoyable.
it's entertaining. I
Too
just
much
didn't.
fun.
No, it was too ridiculous. I mean, it was just ridiculous. It's just
I
not
just
one of
took
my.
a
It's
step.
not one of my favorites. I'm not a huge Bruce Willis fan in general. I mean, I recognize that he does some good parts, and there's been some films that I've liked him in, but Die Hard wasn't one of them. 12 Monkeys, very, very good. Looper, I really enjoyed him in. But yeah, Die Hard just was
I don't
never
remember
one of my
seeing
favorites.
either of those movies on my list, so I'm curious as to why we're talking about them.
Bruce Willis is in it. You need to be able to make connections from one thing to another. Linear
Do we?
sense. You should. I mean, you don't have to. I mean, this list is proof of that. But yeah, continue. Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Oh yeah, Star Wars: A New Hope. I mean, changed my life as a kid.
Yeah.
I felt obligated to put it on the list.
Yeah.
I agree with it being on the list, and I think it did change a lot of opinion about cinema. Once that came out, what was it? 78?
77.
77. It changed a lot of opinions. There's still a lot that I like about the movie. I think my opinion about this, though, is really clouded, unfortunately, by everything that followed on.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Empire Strikes Back was I
Superior
think,
film.
the better of the original trilogy.
Yeah.
But everything that's followed on from that has just really taken away from.
Yeah, the original trilogy was amazing. Everything else has been like,
Except for
Rogue One.
Oh,
Except for Rogue One.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
But that was made in the same style and vein as the originals. You know what I mean? Like it really, really was. Everything else has, I think, fallen short of the promise of the original trilogy. And it's a darn shame.
No, but I agree with it being on your list, and I think again this is one of those movies when I saw it, I was like, well, you can't really rate it. It was groundbreaking in its own way, um, and a lot of people tried to copy it after the fact.
Yeah, you
It
can't
was
argue. You can't argue with that. It did create a very fertile playground,
yeah
and the fact that it's on the list, considering all the stuff we've just talked about, really shows just how fertile that playground is. That you're still like, yeah, there's a lot of crap came up after that, but it's still got such possibility, you know?
Right. And I think the good stuff that's come after we might not have were it not for Star Wars to come out and kind of,
Yeah.
set some
Yeah.
of
Like
that
Dune.
steam and
Like Dune.
yeah.
yeah.
Like
Yeah,
Dune.
I found
Because
Dune to
Dune
be
is a direct
derivative
result
of
of Star Wars,
That's right. It's very
as
derivative.
we all know.
Yeah.
As an
Yeah.
emperor.
No, Star Wars is a direct result of Dune, as are all things.
No,
all
I know.
films is a result of Dune.
I know we're trying to drive the Dune people insane by doing what Harry
You know-
Potter fans do with
you know,
Lord of the Rings.
Sean, what you said about it being a fertile playground. The thing is, I think Star Wars could still pull it back as a franchise.
Mhm.
I mean, I still think it hasn't passed a point of no return.
Oh, I
You
agree.
could
Yeah.
truly pivot this and do something. Will they? Of course not. But they could. And
Yeah.
that's what makes it so irritating.
Well, that's where I find satisfaction is out of a lot of the ancillary things like Knights of the Old Republic and stuff like that, where you have things that they don't the owners don't really pay attention to. Just
Yeah.
do your thing. I really don't care about that. And that's where you get a lot of the coolest stuff that shows up. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Get some passionate people in
Yeah.
there. Okay. Moving on to what I don't think is very controversial, but we'll see what Kelly thinks. Unbreakable.
I thought that was a horrible movie. Absolutely atrocious.
Really? And I thought it was in the middle of my top 20. Interesting.
Well, it really says more about you than it does me. I
See,
mean,
and I was having an internal struggle between Unbreakable and Signs, but between the two,
oh,
I
no.
decided to only pick one
Yeah.
from that director.
and
and I
this
was
is the
like,
one you picked.
Unbreakable was the one that I think ties more into kind of the stuff that I really like and enjoy. I love both movies, and both of them I would put on my top 20, but I decided to only choose one, and Unbreakable was it.
If I was going to be in isolation for the rest of my life and somebody said I could take one movie and all they offered me was any offering from M. Night Shyamalan, I would go for the rest of my life with never watching another movie. I think his movies are just horrible. Absolutely. I think he's atrocious as a storyteller. I think he sucks as a director. I think he hurts cinema for the fact that he's ever touched a camera. I think he should go do absolutely anything else with his life.
Damning.
But what didn't you like?
Yeah. Okay. Let's dig into this very specifically.
Other than that,
about
it was
Unbreakable.
entertaining.
Hold on. We have Bruce Willis, and we have
That's where you lose Rich.
yeah. Oh, there it is. You're like,
I
Bruce
didn't
Willis. I
like
don't like
all of
him.
his films. I just didn't like
And Samuel L.
Die Hard.
Jackson, right? Who both I think
I
did
like
an
Unbreakable
excellent
a lot.
job in this movie, right? So like seriously, what didn't you like about Unbreakable?
I think I was offended by the way the story was told. You know, it's the thing with M. Night Shyamalan, and I know you're asking about the story, and I'm trying to answer your question, but I have to answer it in this indirect
Doesn't
way.
feel like it, but okay.
All right, well, screw you. But the thing is that his movies are like if John Carpenter and Stephen King had a bastard child, it would be M. Night Shyamalan. So it's like there's this buildup in the movie that then just falls flat with this stupid premise at the end. So I feel offended as a viewer of the movie. So while I'm watching the story and I'm like, okay. And then you get to the end and I just feel let down by it. I just feel let down by it. They were intriguing characters. And you see this in a number of his movies. There's these intriguing characters poorly utilized. So it's not that any one of the characters was offensive as much as just the way the story is told is offensive to me as a viewer.
Huh. Okay. I'm not sure I understand, but okay.
That's what you're gonna. That's all I can say about
it. I really liked Unbreakable.
Me
Unbreakable.
too.
Yeah, I
I
really
like the whole
like that.
trilogy, actually.
Huh?
I like the whole trilogy, actually. Split and Glass as well. I like all three of them.
Glass, I was Split. I was actually
Not as good.
Split.
Glass
I was
is
good
the
with.
weakest.
Glass
Yeah.
was weak. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the weakest because it
Yeah.
tried to
And
make
he's-
it.
and I agree
Well, it
with
felt
you.
like, hey, everybody else is doing a shared cinematic universe. Let me do
Yeah.
it too. What that
Right.
really felt
And
like.
I agree with Kelly on most of his movies. Most of his movies, I agree with you, Kelly. They suck. They're awful. That one, for some reason, and Split, I love those. Those ones I like a lot. I really do. But the other ones, I didn't like Sixth Sense, you know, and the one about the trees trying to murder everybody was really dumb.
Nobody liked that one.
And
Lady in the Water.
Lady in the Water was
Yeah.
awful.
What was the one where the dudes go to the beach and they get really old? Is that called Old?
I think it was Old or something.
I enjoyed that movie. Like, that was fine. You know, I'm glad I saw it on like streaming. I didn't pay for it or whatever. But like, I watch it. I enjoyed that movie. You know, like, it was fine. I was like, oh, okay.
Other options were like Extraction too.
Yeah.
And that's the bar you were judging it by.
Okay. Well, Kelly, I feel personally that you don't like the director because you were offended by maybe The Happening or something like that, and that has colored your perception of every movie he puts out.
This came out before
because Unbreakable is good. Signs is good.
No,
Old is fine.
No, Signs is exactly what Kelly was just talking about. It builds up to something and then it becomes stupid.
Yeah.
And you know, the alien sitting there using some gas coming out of his wrist on the kid was just, you know, really dumb. I didn't like that.
And now you know why Unbreakable beat out Signs to get on my list. Because in the end, like, okay, you're not 100% wrong. But I enjoy both of those. I've seen both of those multiple times. I would turn that on. I'd turn either of them on again if I was flipping channels and saw it. I was like, oh, yeah, I'll watch this.
I turned it on as long as it was a scene where his wife was caught in between the truck.
Okay, moving on. Palate cleanser. Big Trouble in Little China.
All right, Big Trouble in Little China.
I could do without seeing him in every movie.
Who?
M. Night Shyamalan. He always like puts himself in the movie in some small role, and he was the guy driving the truck.
He's a narcissistic weirdo.
Start a whole nother.
I know. Although I did see Knock at the Cabin Door, which was pretty good. I enjoyed that one as well, which is also directed by him.
I'll take your word for it. Now, what was the one that you just read?
Big Trouble in Little China.
Hey, there you go.
I know. We all hated that movie. It was terrible and childish, and we didn't like any of the actors in it. And it shouldn't be on my list, right?
Yeah, worse than M. Night Shyamalan. Seriously.
You want to bring a group of men together. You want to create peace in this world. You show them all Big Trouble in Little China. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's what does it.
Come on, Kelly, do it. Do it. You know you want to. Do it.
Nope.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Look, Big Trouble in Little China. I mean, sure, somebody could fault a lot of things. Somebody could fault a lot of things in this movie, but they would be wrong. This movie was entertaining start to finish. I mean, I can't think of another movie that has so many quotable lines in it. You know, so many characters that are just indelibly imprinted on. Once you see this movie, you're not going to forget Jack Burton, right? It's
me,
Jack Burton, me.
You know, it's just I think start to finish, this is a fantastic movie. It's unrateable. I can't say how many K-Mans this is because it's infinite number of K-Mans.
That's right. It's a singularity. That's right. Math cannot actually solve that problem, cannot comprehend the result of how good that movie is.
But it is so campy, but leans into it in such a way that it is perfect. You know what I mean? Like when Kim Cattrall's character, you meet the David Lopan, who is so reclusive. Like nobody talks like that, but stupid. It works. You know what I mean?
This is why I say it's that singularity, because all of our rules for making movies and stories and entertainment, they break down at the event horizon of Big Trouble in Little China, so that you look at it as an executive, that shouldn't work, and yet it does. It works beautifully and better than any other movie I've ever seen, ever. You know, you were talking about Solitary, Kelly, and what movies should be on a loop. There you go. That's the one. I'm going to come out a better man. The longer you leave me in there, the better I'm going to be when I come out of there.
Yeah, or we'll lock you in, or we'll lock you in the hell of never ever being able to see this movie ever again. You know, upside down sinners.
Right.
The hell of the horny dragon. That was a great movie. Oh, that
That's
was
right.
amazing.
Oh, I want to go get a 6 demon bag now.
And it's timeless. I've seen so many people who, from whatever generation, who see that movie and for some reason it clicks. For some reason it's fun.
You know what, Mark? You just brought up the 6 demon bag. I can't tell you how many times I've watched a movie where things start to go pear-shaped in the storyline, and I think to myself, if only they had the 6 demon bag.
True. True. It has all the solutions to life's problems in it.
Yeah.
That's right.
The Emperor wouldn't be in the position he's in if he had a 6 demon bag.
Right.
True.
Yeah. Dune
True.
would not exist if it were not for Big Trouble in Little China.
It's true.
Yeah. Yeah. So
All right, what's
derivative.
next on your list?
Well, now I'm ashamed to even bring up the next one on my list, which is Lost in Space.
I was ashamed to see that next
1998.
too.
This is the one I was talking about. Awful.
Like I said, that movie is a good time. I enjoyed everything about that movie. The ensemble cast, right? Think about it. You got who plays the bad guy in there? I'm drawing a blank on his name. No, he's an amazing actor.
He's so good I can't remember his name.
No, I just mentioned him earlier, but yeah. Anyway, there are great actors and actresses in this movie, and I just found it to be like a good time popcorn
I
film.
can't remember.
Okay, look.
William Hurt's in it, I believe.
It was the same dude that played Zorg in The Fifth Element, the bad guy.
Oh, Gary Oldman?
Yeah, Gary Oldman's in it.
Yeah, he plays Dr. Smith, right?
Right. That's who I was drawing.
Before I saw that on the list, I had forgotten that movie even existed.
Look.
It took me a moment to figure out that's actually a movie.
It is a movie, and it is one that I thoroughly enjoy.
My entire note to this on your list is to each their own, really.
Yeah. Because WTF.
No, it's like, all right, man, look, I love you, brother. I'm just going to let this be.
Criticizing you on what's your personal favorite is kind of silly, but at the same time, you asked us to do it, so you asked us to critique you.
I don't remember asking, but
I remember you saying you critiqued me on my top 20.
It was posted upon him.
Lost in Space. There is no episode of the original black and white Lost in Space and then color serial series that was on in the 60s that I would put below, or that I would not put this movie below. This movie is atrocious. It is an atrocious film.
Okay, why? No. Why is it atrocious? Like, name what is atrocious about the movie.
Okay, well.
The 1998 special effects aren't up to snuff. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, not even just up to snuff.
Sorry.
They were not up to snuff. They were ridiculous.
Like a 1977 Star Wars is up to snuff. They're not Lost in Space.
77 Star Wars effects were better than this one, honestly. The whole idea of the family going into space and their interactions with each other, I was surprised they made it off the planet because they seemed to hate each other before they got off the planet.
Every family ever.
No, the original Lost in Space was a loving family that all went out together to explore the universe. I used to like that show when I was a kid. I used to watch it, the episodic show. And I found this movie to just be a slap in the face to it. It's like, oh, well, we're going to name this Lost in Space. But actually, it's a family drama about people that hate each other. Congratulations. But they'll come together in the end. But like I said, I did not find it to be entertaining in the least. I found it just to be...
I love how when you guys
we're going to glom on.
It is the worst movie you've ever seen in the whole world. There's not a single redeeming quality about this movie.
That's how
Kelly
you
has such a hate on for M. Night Shyamalan that everything he does, if he never touched the camera and worked at McDonald's his whole life, that society would be better.
The girl that played
The dude's making movies. Good for him.
The girl that played
Rich is like, everything is worst in this movie ever. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's fine.
Mark,
it was a good time.
Don't worry. You're going to have something on there that's actually worthwhile.
This isn't it.
All right. Well, fortunately, the next one on my list is The Usual Suspects.
Yeah, it was a great movie. 4.5 out of 5 K-Mans. And I'm the only reason I did 4.5.
Yeah, I'm like, is there anything that you gave 5 K-Mans?
Yes.
Quite a few. Quite a few.
We gave Big Trouble Infinite K-Mans.
The Thing, Unforgiven. There's a number of them on there. Yeah.
The Usual Suspects, I just have to give it 4.5 just because I'm like, everything can't be perfect. Oh, there you go. But it was
Trading
I
on a
enjoyed
curve. I got you.
I enjoyed this. I enjoyed the storytelling in this. I enjoyed, sort of the flow of things. I enjoyed the ending when you find out that everything's a lie.
I see. So when M. Night Shyamalan gives us a twist ending, it's the worst thing in the world.
Okay. M.
But
Night
over here,
Shyamalan
it's
should
perfect.
Mr. Shyamalan should go watch The Usual Suspects like a million times to learn how to do a surprise ending. He's like, what's going to happen? Oh, I know what's going to happen, dumbass. It's going to be stupid.
That's a pretty good summation of how he does his films. It's like, it's a twist.
I like that impression of him. I picture him like that behind the camera on set. What's going to happen?
You know what would be cool?
I can't wait.
Sitting there, action.
Like the actors after they finish, they're like, I didn't see that coming.
Moving on.
All right, so no argument on that. What else?
No.
Yay. All right. True Lies.
I mean, okay. I mean,
now we're back into the Cameron-esque
Oh my
world.
God.
it was okay. It was
Fine.
okay.
I watched it yesterday.
I'm sure you did. It's
No
still
doubts of that.
okay.
Oh.
I don't look. I'm glad this is on here and not more Lost in Space. Okay, let's just
Definitely
say
better
that.
than Lost in
Only
Space.
because they didn't do a sequel.
Is this
For
what
good
we've
reason.
come to?
Oh my God.
I'm glad True Lies is on there so that we don't have to endure any more Lost in Space. Is that what the world has come to?
I mean,
It's
Lies
a
is a
damn
great
sight better
movie.
than
You're
anything
all
M.
wrong.
Night Shyamalan has put out. Let me put it that way.
All right. Moving on to an appropriately timed Raiders of the Lost Ark.
This movie was phenomenal.
I
Absolutely
went to
phenomenal.
see
When
it
it
for
came out,
Paul's birthday party,
yeah.
and I thought it was going to be about Noah's Ark, and it was going to be boring. It was like this documentary about like trying to find Noah's Ark or something. Like I was like, oh, this is
You
gonna be
really
so
don't
dumb.
understand movies because I remember
And
you pitching, and
imagine
I'm-
my surprise when I was,
well, it did involve
given
the Bible.
Raiders of the Lost Ark with Nazis' faces melting off and everything. I was like, this is the best movie ever.
because
It
I
did
remember,
involve
and
the
I'm not
Bible,
gonna
so you were kind
I'm-
of right.
I'm not going to say the name of the movie, but I remember you also pitching your mom on one movie being like a Bond-like movie, and it was not.
That was Michael Carabin, and we all
Yeah.
knew
It
that.
was Mike.
That was Mike Carabin. That's
Was
true.
it?
That was
All
Michael
right.
Carabin. He's like, I think it's a spy movie
Yeah, he said, "Oh no, it's a Bond movie." Yeah,
or something. Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah,
It's
which
not-
actually
was.
backfired for me because the most uncomfortable thing was seeing Bruce Willis's first wife.
Demi Moore.
Yeah, with her top off and that other chick and everything, while Mark's mom is sitting next to me.
Look at those cans, Mom.
Yeah, okay. We have to tell the story now. Like we were going to the theater, and I guess we missed the showing for the one we wanted to see.
No, Mike wanted to see that one.
Yeah, but there was some like we went to see something different, and for whatever reason we couldn't see it. And so we were like, what are we going to see now instead? And that's when Mike was like, oh, let's go see Blame It on Rio. I think it's a spy movie, which was really more of like, a comedy with some boobies in it and stuff like that as
Actually,
12, 13, 14-year-old kids that we were at the time. I don't remember, but
as a comedy, as far as comedies go, it wasn't hateful. It was
Yeah.
okay as and it had Michael Caine and it had what's his name, the dude from The Woman in Red. I can't remember his name, something Baloney or something like that. I can't remember his name, but he was.
Something
But it was-
baloney.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
I think his first name was Phony.
No,
Oh.
I'm serious. It's like
an awful
Close to
movie.
Bologna or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It was an awful
You
movie.
make me look
he
it
was
up, aren't you?
He was in My Favorite Year and stuff like that. He was, but yeah. As far as comedies go, it was actually okay. But
In
yeah, just
1984, I
totally
guess we were
uncomfortable.
I was 14 when this came out. So, Michael Caine, Michelle Johnson, Demi Moore, Joseph
Bologna.
Bologna,
Say,
Bologna.
Valerie Harper was in it.
Mr. Baloney, you're needed on set.
He just gives up. He's used to it. Okay, fine.
I'll be there. Hold on.
Uh,
Joe
Look.
Maloney sounds like a gangster.
Reining it back in. If we go back to Raiders of the Lost,
Oh yeah, Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's right.
Look, the thing that always comes up for me when I watch Raiders of the Lost Ark now is that the part was originally written for Tom Selleck. So every time I see it now,
Yeah.
I'm still trying to like, would that have worked? Like, I don't think it would have worked.
I think it could have. Tom Selleck's got a lot of charisma. I think it would have worked with
He
him
had that
too.
mustache going for him.
But
I also think it totally works with Harrison Ford, though.
I do
like,
too. I think
yeah,
100%. I think it worked out great. Do I think it could have worked with Tom Selleck? Yeah, sure. But I'm not sad with the result. I mean, I thought it was done really well. I really like that one.
Yeah, I agree. It's a solid offering on the list.
Yeah.
Okay. Following that one up, we have Rogue One, which is
Rogue
probably
One,
the only Star Wars movie that I would put there with Star Wars: A New Hope.
Yeah. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give this like 100 K-mans in the hopes that some goofball from Disney actually watches this and they're like, oh, hey, those four guys actually like
those
that
guys
one.
really, yes, all of us are double thumbs up, 100 K-mans for Rogue One.
Right.
Whatever they did there, keep doing that.
Yeah. And what I know they're going to do is they're going to go out and secure M. Night Shyamalan to film the next Star Wars movie.
These guys really like M. Night Shyamalan, apparently.
Lightsabers begin.
Apparently, yeah, that's right. Yeah, the secret weapon they're going to come up with is
only
water,
a master of evil, Darth.
Secret weapon is water, and nobody figured that out.
Knight's movies has to do with water for some reason.
Yeah,
and there will be a planet where they mine water, and yeah.
It just falls out of the sky, right? That's where it comes from.
Okay, so Rogue One. What else you got?
Rogue One, Fifth Element.
No.
Yeah, that was just a rollicking good time that shows us the power of love. Was it campy? Yes. I will also say that this is the closest live action adaptation we've ever seen of Warhammer 40K Space Orcs.
What?
Those aliens just scream orcs to me.
That, but I'm not sure.
Not in their behavior, maybe in their
offered as a saving grace.
No, I enjoyed this movie thoroughly. It was a good time. It is on my top 20. Deal with it.
Did I go see the movie? Yes. Is it a movie I would expect to see on a list of somebody who also appreciated Lost in Space? Yes.
I will say the Fifth Element's definitely grown on me over the years. When I initially saw it, I was not that impressed by it, but it definitely has grown on me over the years.
Listen to your old self. Listen to your old self.
There's, wiser before you gained all this knowledge and experience in life.
I saw this in the movie theater in Waldorf with Russell, and I remember all the way up to the end, I was digging it. I was all right. This is kind of cool. Yeah. I even put up with the stupid fight scene she had where she's doing her jazzercise fight with the Space Orcs, and put up with all that, all the way up until love becomes the fifth element,
right?
That overcomes evil,
right? And that was about as goofy as the end of Highlander.
Yeah,
that's on my top 20.
Highlander?
Oh yeah.
The more I see Highlander, the more it moves down my list.
Yeah.
Like in 1980, whatever, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, this is really cool. And the concept of these immortals fighting each other with swords.
Cool.
You're like, man, this is awesome. But then I rewatched it more, like in the last 12 months or whatever. And I was just like, this is really slow paced and boring.
I love it.
I'm looking forward to the reboot, actually. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My note here next to Fifth Element is, there's some people in this world that think Kenny G plays some of the best music ever.
Good one. That is a good one.
All right, what you got?
All right, La Femme Nikita.
I can't fault this movie at all. For a movie that's made on such a little budget, it did a lot.
And a foreign movie to boot, because some of the
French
decision making on how they make movies or tell a story in this case France is different than how America would tell the story. But I found that kind of cool and refreshing because I'm used to American cinema.
But you know what?
Now,
and look,
sorry,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say that the best thing about that movie, though. What was the best thing about that movie?
Victor, obviously.
Victor, yes, Victor. So it wasn't Nikita? The rest of the movie, okay, that's fine. But the icing on the cake, the thing that made it really, really a dessert, was let's drive around the block 2 times, come back, they won't expect it. You know, that was Victor was amazing.
Yeah, Victor was a great add-on.
And Rico was pretty fun too, right? For the 30 seconds at the beginning when he was still with us.
Yeah.
I thought I had to when I saw this on your list, I had to think about it in context of how, you know, sort of the current day discussion around cinema is, and diversity in cinema and things like that. And there's not enough leading female roles, especially in like action movies and things like that. And man, I thought about this movie and I thought this is what needs to be there. When you think about American cinema, all they've done to try to address this particular issue, and I'm fine with the issue saying, hey, there's not enough female representation in film, you know, in these leading roles. It's always some woman who falls down while running in shoes that she should never be in. And I thought the French did this way back in the day. American cinema doesn't even do it. All Hollywood is trying to do is retell old stories where they just replace the cast with all female roles and saying, look, we've ticked the box. Aren't you all happy now that we're being progressive? But the French hit that note way back in the day. They created La Femme Nikita from the ground up, and it was an original story. It was amazing. And when I thought back through the film, I was like, man, it hit on every bloody note. It was fantastic.
Except for the,
I'll say this, like,
let's be fair though.
Go ahead.
Except for the French use of firearms, like that Desert Eagle with the harpoon out of the barrel. You know,
Okay, yeah,
that
look.
you know, just to be fair,
they're French. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
But I will say this, like the Bridget Fonda Point of No Return, which was
Awful.
the Hollywood version of La Femme Nikita, which was awful. Like in La Femme Nikita, like they recruit her. They're like, you can go spend your whole life in jail, or you can work for us as like a spy assassin. And she's like, well, I guess I'm going to be a spy assassin, right? And she calls and they give her first job, and it's like, here, dress up like a maid and deliver this stuff to this door. There's a bunch of like bad guys in there, and she delivers it and leaves. And they're like, good job. We don't know what happened. We don't know what she delivered. We don't know anything. Whereas in Point of No Return, she's walking down the street and the whole hotel explodes because apparently she delivered a bomb. And that is one of the differences. Like Hollywood's got to beat you over the head and let us know that she dropped a bomb in there versus what? A listening device, some poison, some, you know, like we don't know what she did in La Femme Nikita. And that was better, in my opinion, than the, oh, she delivered bomb.
yeah.
You've lost that. You lose that kind of subtlety. Not all the time, but a lot of the time when you get to Hollywood production.
Right, but this is one of those rare examples where we could literally see this was the movie that this was based on, and here's the way you took the same script and told the same story, and we've got the ham-fisted Americans doing it one way, and the French,
with the megaphone. And
I can't believe I'm going to say this, the French doing it right.
Yeah. Hey, blind squirrel finds a nut, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So speaking of which, next one on the list, Predator.
Last one on the list.
Next one on the list is what I said. Pay attention.
It was the last one on the list. Predator. Look, there's
last on the list, but first in your heart.
Talk about campy. Talk about campy. Talk about things that are quoted for all the wrong reasons. You know,
ain't got time to bleed.
I actually, while writing my notes to this, went and Googled an Alabama tick to figure out what the hell is an Alabama tick.
It's a tick that lives in Alabama.
It's not actually. It's actually found throughout Latin America and along the Gulf Coast.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, it's actually a real thing.
Jesse the Body Ventura teaching us yet again.
That man is a treasure.
Yeah, so the movie was bad, but it was educational. Look, it's campy and goofy in many ways. The thing that this movie had that really carried it along was the Predator itself.
Yeah.
That alien creature and the fact that it dealt with it in a way that I hadn't seen a lot of other movies deal with. Sort of here's the you know, the Xenos that comes in and has to fight. It was great. It was great. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jesse the Body Ventura, and every other cast member in there is ridiculous. Carl Weathers, absolutely ridiculous. It's just over the top with ridiculousness. But it was fun to watch because of the Predator.
But that's the thing that
to me, that was the setup, right? You have these ridiculous over the top commandos that are just getting ripped apart by, you know,
See, that's the thing I think most people forget is that the movie was kind of dissembling that stuff.
Yeah.
And they were supposed to be that kind of way, you know? And that's what I loved about it is that,
Yeah.
like Kelly said, they get quoted for all the wrong reasons. I thought you were going to go down that road where they were making a statement about those kind of movies and all that, and ended up kind of unintentionally fanning the flames, if you will, for that kind of thing
Yeah,
going
no, I mean,
forward.
I
Mhm.
totally agree with that. I mean, and you get that from scene one where Carl Weathers and Arnold Schwarzenegger come together, and he's
Yeah.
like, Dylan, and then they have that
Again,
close up of
you.
their oiled up
Of
arms
their
smacking together.
oily biceps. You son of a bitch.
And produced one of the biggest memes of all time.
Yeah, yeah. But it's, I mean, look, I like the movie. I can totally see why it's on your top 20, and I don't fault that. You know, the movie is ridiculous and
Right.
campy
Like I
and
said,
weird.
this and Unforgiven are both on my list, but for two very different reasons.
Oh yeah, yeah,
The
exactly.
only reason that the only thing that I have against Predator, because I love that movie, the only thing I have against it, it ended the wrong way. You know, I've heard the story about, you know, them not knowing which way to go with the ending. Should he die? Should he live? He should have died.
Yeah.
He should have died, you know, but that's the only thing. Okay, we can get past that. That's all right. It didn't end up being a
Yeah.
second one with Arnold going back to it.
But
So,
I like,
whatever.
but I like
And I'll
that
say
the
that's one of the reasons I think Reservoir Dogs stood out so much for me is it wasn't a happy ending for
Right.
anyone. You know what I
Right.
mean? And that
All
was
the way
so
around.
new. You like it's like Kelly said, oh, if there's a kid or a dog in the movie, they're not gonna kill a kid. Like, oh, Hollywood, we're doing it. Asia will do that. Some of the Asian cinema will absolutely murder some kids.
There's
But-
a movie called
but
The
like-
Mist.
Yeah, I get it, but again, that's a horror movie, and that's a little bit different. Like on the whole, I'm not worried that this you know that Newt is going to get eaten by aliens, right?
dude,
Right.
he did that would have
Hollywood
made that
doesn't
movie
do
so
that.
much
That
better.
doesn't test well with
Oh,
cinema
it's so
audiences.
much
Well,
better.
you know, at least they killed her off in the sequels. So she died in a crash, which is awesome.
Yeah, but you don't get to see it. That was the
Yeah,
thing,
you,
no.
you
get
know.
to
I-
see, you get to see her like all splayed out with Hicks. So
Now
That
I
was a
did.
cop-out.
But
I
I
did
will
make
say this.
a,
I think Predator, like Star Wars and others, they failed in the franchise of it. You know, it was. But I think the one that they recently put out, the
Right.
one set in the Native American West,
Yeah.
that was pretty interesting. That was an interesting offering to see
Yeah.
that setting and that sort of confrontation between the Predator and you know
It
earlier
gave me
stages
it
of
gave
human
me
life.
enough interest to want to see more of them. Again, look, man, preteen Native American girl besting a predator is
bestest
that's-
ever.
That's just ridiculous.
It was
But
an adolescent predator.
I don't care. If it's fresh out of the womb, it should be able to take a
Yeah,
preteen
but
Native
tear her
American chick
apart.
with
Fresh
a
out of the womb.
Look,
with a
I would put a
tomahawk
3-year-old
in the head,
toddler against
you
a
know?
3-year-old lion, and you know I know where my money's going.
Yeah, the man. Don't get me started on that.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I thought it was a good offering. Shut up.
I enjoyed it too. I did too. I'm saying if they'd have had Arnold die in the first one and not make it such a certainty that at the end of the movie, whoever the human is going to win because humanity is going to win and all that crap. If you make it more uncertain, I think it would have
Yeah.
made it a better franchise, you know. And I think we're paying the price for that crap afterwards, where you go into it.
It almost occurs to me as you say that. I'm thinking of Cabin in the Woods,
Yeah.
where they're doing, which by the way should also be on this list. There's so many.
Oh,
I
it should
couldn't
be.
fit. It should be. In fact, I'd like to knock off Lost in Space and put Cabin in the Woods in there if I could. But I like the way they're like, oh, we have the Fool and we have the Virgin and we have the whatever. Yeah, and we have these different archetypes, and we get to this point, and then we don't care who wins or loses. Like the Virgin can win or she can die. Like we've done our part for this setup, and you know, yeah. And so I kind of like that aspect of what they were saying. It isn't like this person always has to die. Like she could win, and you know, the elder gods would still be appeased. You know what I'm saying? And so
Sure.
kind of going, if we applied that to the Predator franchise, they win more often than they lose, you know, in the canon, right? And so like I would love it you know, yeah, I defeated the Predator, but then the Predator was like, okay, well, I'm going to take you with me, and ends up, you know, blowing up everything.
Right. Yeah.
That would have been very satisfying.
Yeah,
that's,
I thought that
wouldn't
part
it?
of the movie was
that
great.
would have been
Yeah.
not only that would have been satisfying because it would have been unexpected at the time, and
Yeah, kill off
really
Schwarzenegger. Come on.
It would have been just amazing to have that, you know, where suddenly the Predator's laughing and the whole thing goes up in a mushroom cloud, and then you know, the lady in the chopper's like, well, I guess not picking him up.
Yeah.
And credits roll, you know.
Yeah, she's the only survivor, right? Yeah. Yeah, but then that paved the way for Predator 2, where we got to see Danny Glover best.
Gary Busey.
I love it when he's
That's
like,
the
you
star of
couldn't
that movie.
lift him up there. And I'm like, it's Danny Glover. He's like a 60-year-old dude. You're making it sound like
Trying to
he's
make it
really
sound
strong.
like he's Arnold or something. You know, you
I know.
couldn't lift him. He can't lift
I'm getting
his
too
grocery
old for
bags.
this.
What are you talking about?
Young Bill Paxton. Oh.
Now, I did make, by the way, I did make a list. If you want to hear it, I can read it off real quick. Just see what you think. Okay. All right. Big Lebowski, Schindler's List, The Holy Grail. Infinity War, The Thing, Big Trouble, Gladiator, Lord of the Rings, Saving Private Ryan, Sling Blade, Unforgiven, No Country for Old Men, Unbreakable, Top Secret, To Kill a Mockingbird, Mad Max Fury Road, Taxi Driver, Predator, Blade Runner, and Dr. Strangelove.
Yeah, I got problems with your list, but I think
I got a couple of those that I wouldn't have
solid.
on my list, but on the whole, I'd like to remake my list now.
Now, which one wouldn't you have on your list? That's what I'm
Blade Runner. I find Blade Runner to be one of the most boring movies I've ever seen. I'm not sure I've ever made it through to the end. Like, I know everybody treats it like it's this, you know, tentpole of cinema. I keep falling asleep.
Well,
like, I just find it really boring.
I don't think I would have put Top Secret on the list.
Top Secret is amazing. Skeet surfing? Come on, man.
The reason I had Top Secret on there was because I have to have a nod to one of those movies from
Campy Kentucky Fried Chicken or Kentucky Fried Movie. And
them, because you got Airplane, The Naked Gun, and all that stuff. And I'm thinking, all right, which one of those brought me the most joy? Which one is the one that I love the most? Top Secret. I remember seeing that with you guys, and just the joy I had from that is one of those rare occasions in life, and it lasts throughout your life, you know, like Monty Python and the Holy Grail, you know. So that's why I have that on there. I
have that one on my list as well. So
yeah, I have that. I still feel comfortable with that. What's one of the other ones that you didn't like? So Top Secret.
Like Taxi Driver, like I think I might have only seen that once way back in the day. So like that's not I'm not saying no. I'm saying I'm not as familiar with it as clearly you are.
I give a nod to Sean's list for really spanning a breadth of cinema. You know, I mean, you're putting To Kill a Mockingbird in there. That was good.
Yeah, like that one I'm not as familiar with either. That I could confidently say it would be on my list versus not. You know, like
I was waffling between that one and 12 Angry Men.
12 Angry Men is such a good movie. The original.
However, I am also realizing I don't have any of those Lord of the Rings movies on there. That's an oversight. It's hard to do a top 20. You know what I mean? Like you're bringing up ones that I'm like, oh hell, I would bump, you know, Lost in Space or Bowfinger for any of those. But they're there for a reason. You know what I mean? Like Bowfinger and like the whole concept of how to make movies and that send up. Like I love that as a movie.
Your list, Mark, because
but it's not better than Lord of the Rings. You know what I mean? Like so there's
but you weren't judging better movies. You're judging what gives you personal enjoyment, and that's why I said it's kind of hard to critique you on what gives you personal enjoyment because it's endemic to you. But at the same time,
it wasn't hard.
A dramatic oversight to not have Lord of the Rings, the Peter Jackson movies.
Yeah,
it represented on the list.
I did notice that you didn't have any Peter Jackson movie at all, and I think he's an excellent director.
I agree. Like I don't think I have District 9 on here, and I freaking love that movie.
See, that's one I wanted to put on the list, but I wasn't sure if I could say it was one of the top 20. I know Kelly hates that movie.
Right, it might not be top 20, but man, it was a
District 9.
Oh,
yeah. District 9 was a great movie. So it looks like I have a couple on here.
It wasn't
twice. Like I have Lost in Space down here at the bottom. I think I was moving things up and down the list. I think that's why.
It's so good I put it on twice.
Yeah, no, I did. It looks like Glass made the list, but I think I'm looking at the old list because I remember going, oh, I only want to put one. Which one am I going to put on there? And I put Unbreakable up there. But I do have T-34 on my list, which is a foreign film.
Russian tank movie.
It's a Russian-made film. It's about these
about the
tankers who get
It's a good movie.
captured, and they basically pull these guys out of the gulag, and they're like, okay, we captured this Soviet T-34 off the battlefield. You're a tank crew. You're going to run this and be the op for our like graduates from tank school. And as they're cleaning this tank up and taking, like, it literally had bodies in it, they're taking the bodies out. They're like, we want to bury these bodies. They found like 3 or 4 tank shells still in the tank that they buried with the bodies, and they're like, we're going to go dig these things up, load our tank with some real shells, and we're going to get the hell out of Dodge and escape. And so that's like the premise of this movie, is this hotshot tanker takes his crew, and they're gonna kill us anyway. Let's just shoot some of these. We can shoot back now when they're not expecting us to be able to, and then we're just gonna drive to freaking Poland and get the hell out of here. And so that is the premise of this movie, and it was really well made, and like I enjoyed it. I don't know if it's I'm kind of giving a nod to foreign cinema, but with this and with La Femme Nikita, because it's not all about American cinema and whatnot. And
Yeah.
I don't know if it's up there with Unforgiven or anything like that, but I wanted to put something on the list that kind of represented war movies and foreign cinema.
I don't think foreign cinema gets recognized enough, to be quite honest. I mean, and look, we're here in the U.S. and we're inundated with American cinema and things like that. But there is a lot of really good movies that are made.
I mean,
there are.
The Raid Redemption, could absolutely be on this list.
Hard Boiled.
Seven Samurai on there. Seven Samurai on my list.
Seven Samurai. Oh my God, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All of Kurosawa's work.
Yeah, and then the Indian films, we don't have enough line dances and big musical numbers in our action films. So I think RRR needs to be on there.
I tried to get into RRR and I couldn't get into it.
Yeah, like I say, it's a different mindset with Indian cinema. You know what I mean? Like it's over the top, it's campy, it's like a telenovela turned up to 11 mixed with action. Like that's just their mindset on movies, and then we got to throw in a big musical number. Like
it also
it's
like
wacky, but I love it.
It didn't. How do I say it? Even in like Schindler's List, there was nuance to the Germans. Yes, you had Amon-Gareth and just straight up evil, but there were other Germans who were more nuanced and that kind of thing. With RRR, I felt like anybody who was English was going to be just a monster. And there wasn't as much. It felt much more personal. Like if you were from India and you wanted to feel cathartic, you were going to watch this movie and just go with it because you wanted that catharsis.
Talking about Schindler's List, there was a documentary, and I have to highly recommend this if you haven't seen it. And I don't know where you're going to go find it, but you have to look. But there was a documentary that was done with Amon-Gareth's daughter and the young woman who was
would have killed me.
Yeah,
or grandfather would have killed me.
Right, and just the interaction between the two ladies, the one who was the Jewish prisoner, who was forced into slave labor at his house, and the daughter, and watching those two women interact and talk about, because they go back and they revisit the concentration camp, and this whole thing is filmed as they're visiting the site, and they're talking about the experiences from these two diametrically opposed positions. I highly recommend that documentary. It's fantastic.
I'd be interested to see what Rich and Kelly, what you have as your
I was going to offer that because look, in all seriousness, Mark is one of my best friends, and exposing yourself in this way, like Rich said, I mean, how can you judge somebody else's likes and dislikes? And I just sat here and had a yeah, and I just sat here and I had a go at it.
And often,
it's his
apparently.
favorite.
But I will offer up, like, I'll put together my list of 20 movies that I like, right? I'm not going to say it's the top 20, but I'll put together my list of 20.
Yeah, I think that's like 20.
Yeah.
Top,
See, 'cause
top
what I'd
20
like to do-
because I've already put The Patriot, Saving Private Ryan, and Cabin on the Woods
Cabin
on the
in
bottom
Woods.
of this list as
Cabin
those
on
are
the
clear
Woods.
oversights.
Cabin
I
on the
would
Woods.
love Cabin in the Woods.
What
That is like my
that?
favorite horror movie
M.
because
Night
it is
Shyamalan remake.
it is the explanation of all the horror movies. Like that
Yeah.
is a great movie.
That is
Like
a
it would,
great movie.
M. Night Shyamalan would remake the movie. It would be called Cabin on the Woods, and in the end, nothing bad happens. It finds out that everything's fine.
Everything's fine. They just
No,
have a
it'd be the
wonderful
trees
weekend
did
in
it.
the woods.
The trees did
trees.
it, and their plan was to throw water balloons.
We're all wet. No.
And to Mr. Shyamalan, I want to say this. Look, man, I know I had a harsh take on you today.
He won't
It
hear
is
this.
It is well deserved. Please make better movies.
It is well deserved.
No, you needn't worry.
Like,
He'll never hear
I'm
any
gonna go.
opinions we
I'm
have
gonna go
about
to
him.
bat for M Night Shyamalan. Like he
He's not
had
gonna like you
dude
'cause you
is dude's
mispronounced
making
his name.
movies.
I know.
Hold on, dude's making
Shyamalan.
movies. He's getting it done. They might not have all hit the way we all wanted to. I think like I said, the guy has passion. He's making some movies. I think you're way harder on him than
He can
he
take.
deserves.
I
he's
think
he's got at least two
Look.
or three that make my top movies of all time.
look. There's an
You know what I'm
issue
saying?
of repeat offense. Okay, if it was one or two of the movies that ended
I hear you.
goofily,
I hear you.
I'd say, okay, look, everybody has a bad day. He seems to revisit that bad day over and over and over again. Like when he gets to the end of the movie, what he needs, and this is what I thought about, he needs people like George Lucas had around him regarding Star Wars who said, no,
Yeah.
that's dumb. M. Night Shyamalan needs that. He needs people who are not going to kiss his
I think he's
ass.
a victim of his own success. Sixth Sense came out of nowhere, right? And it had the twist ending that everybody's like, oh, that's really cool. Like, say what you want about it. Everybody hates it after the fact, blah, 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 whatever. At the time, it hit and nobody saw it coming. And it was like, oh. And so that's what he was known for, was this kind of twist ending thing. And he's tried to consistently deliver on that. Maybe not as successfully as he would like to.
Maybe.
Maybe, and that I think has hurt him. Whereas if he was a more of a director that told movies in perhaps different styles, I think it would have served him better. But now we all know that when you see one of his movies, you're looking for the twist at the end. Like that's the case, and that's unfortunate for him, I think.
I'm sure he is surrounded by people who know that he is a meal ticket and they're going to feed that ego and he's going to keep making things, because anybody would have said aliens who can be killed by water attacking a planet that is 75% water is one of the dumbest moves ever.
Yeah, it falls out of the sky. It does. It literally will fall out of the sky.
Not only falls
and you're
out
in
of the sky,
Pennsylvania,
it's
which
in
can
the
actually
air.
like, what is the water content in the atmosphere, right? How does humidity affect them, or is
Right.
it just water?
Yeah.
So let me get
I'm
this
walking
straight.
around
We
in a
land
mildly
here, we're gonna
acidic cloud.
slowly dissolve.
Yeah. Kelly, I'm with you. I can turn some of that off and just enjoy the movie, and I did.
Sure.
But I also don't believe anybody is living on a farm in Pennsylvania doesn't have a 12-gauge shotgun for dealing with coyotes and predators and things like that. Okay, he's a preacher, but you know what? His brother isn't. His brother's running around with a baseball bat, not like a 12-gauge.
Well, what I would like to do is if you guys could come up with your own 20, I'd like to do review them and then come up with our combined. Here's our list of
my.
I think this would be a fun little series here. I like it.
Yeah, my list of favorite films is going to meet with universal derision from the three of you, because I'm going to have a lot of stuff on there. Well, no, I'm going to have a lot of stuff on there that you guys are going to, just on its face, you're going to say that movie is trash, but it's one of my favorite.
Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, Annie.
Now remember, it's not necessary. I want to get this
Remains
clear.
of the Day.
It's not necessarily favorite. Top 20. Top 20. So if you justify it by that, I like this one.
Top
best,
20
so
in terms of what though? Just top 20 that I like.
That's the thing. What does that mean to you? That's the thing.
Personal favorite versus this is the most like I realize there are ones on my list that are not the best films ever created, but I enjoy them. You know what I mean? And I understand the difference. Unforgiven is on there for a reason. It's a well-made film and it's one of the best, and I'd put it up against everything. I'm not going to go to bat on Lost in Space, but I thoroughly enjoyed it.
But you know what? Yeah, we all have guilty pleasures, and there are things
Right.
that we just watch that are just really crap. But hell, we watch it.
That's right. I might like Heather Graham too. I mean, she was in it.
That might be another list is guilty pleasures, because I'd have like Noises Off and Seems Like Old Times and What's Up Doc and stuff like that.
Armageddon. Yeah.
Murder by Death. Armageddon. Armageddon should never be near any theater or any screen anywhere ever. So
Armageddon.
So
it's funny.
All right, yeah, I'll make a list. I'll send it out.
Okay.
I have a go at everything. Everybody just go ahead and have a go at my list. It's fine.
All right, I'll do one too. It's gonna be it'll be a rip roaring time.
There you go, and then we'll distill it down to the best of it.
Okay.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
All right,
guys.
All right, bye.
Bye.
This concludes our Speak Nerd and Enter broadcast.